Hello, welcome. It has been a couple of days at this point since I last recorded. Today we've started with new sounds in the background. Normally I do rain or snow, but this time I found a copyright-free, it says that it's copyright-free, but it's supposed to be Christmas music. I hope that it's not too loud, that you can't hear me. I really hope that everyone likes this because I kind of enjoy it. It's very nice and soothing. We're just gonna get on with the story today. The story I have chosen today is called I Went on a Hiking Trip and Now I'm Stuck in a Snowstorm. There's Something Out Here Watching Me. This is part 1. I don't know how many parts it actually is. This was in r/NoSleep and is posted by user Kaz the Murphy fan. And yeah, we'll just get on with it. Sorry for this being a bit rushed, as I'm currently trying to save battery life on my laptop, while also hiding from this creature. Brace yourselves. You all know those movies where the main character gets lost in some random place, but they're not alone and they have to try and find a way to escape. I love those movies. Well, I feel like I'm in that same situation right now. I'm a very outdoor kind of guy. I love camping, hunting from time to time, fishing, and most importantly, hiking. A couple days ago, after doing some digging online, trying to find the perfect hiking spot, I came across a trail that was about 5 miles from the town that I lived in. I looked at some of the pictures provided from the Google search. It looked beautiful, fascinating. It was nature at its finest. It wasn't run by anyone, and I couldn't find any reviews of sorts. I did read, though, during the winter, it gets snow heavy on the entire trail, which I took into consideration. I told my girlfriend Caitlin about it, and asked her if she wanted to go and hike with me. Typically, she reluctantly says yes to a request like that. But however, she said that she didn't want to hike that day, saying that she wasn't feeling too good. I respected her and told her to take some medicine and a hot shower as I packed up some gear. The regular hiking stick for steep hills, water, some food, or if I get hungry along the way. And my laptop, for if I wanted to quickly write down any cool sights that I came across on the hike. I left that day and drove 20 minutes to the hiking trip. Once I got there, I pulled up to the minimal space there was for parking, surveyed what was around me and saw there were no other cars, and it was practically a wasteland. I got my bag and hopped out of my truck and started walking towards the start of the trail. I looked at the sign that was in front of it, Minniewood Trail. I pulled my hiking stick from my bag and kept it in my hand, just in case there were any hills I had to walk up. I started noticing it was snowing a tiny bit, and I remembered what it said about this place getting snow heavy in the winter. But in spite of that, I told myself that it wouldn't take me too long to finish hiking, and that I'd get back to my truck before the ground gets covered in snow, as I digressed through the dirt trail and onto the tree lines. It was a really, and I mean really, good hike. The large trees were towering over me, the snow was falling down on my face, seeing dainty ponds as I walked towards the hill, contracted by the trees that surrounded it, the sun shining off of the clear water as batches of grass danced across my skin. The sun was already starting to go down, leaving an orange gloom in the sky, and I took note of it. I lost track of time as I walked the trail, not realizing how long this hike really was. Before I knew it, the sun had completely gone down, and I could barely see anything. I got quite frightened because I was on a trail that I hadn't realized was so long. The snow was coming down harder now, and it was too dark to even see where I was. This was dreadful. Fortunately, as if God gave the situation I was in, I saw a looming structure in the distance, covered by tree branches. I let my heart rate slow down as I started walking towards wherever it was. Once I got to it, I realized it was a small cabin, a bit busted up and the front door unlocked. I looked around at the sky before I decided I had to take refuge in here tonight, knowing if I'd get lost if I tried to get back to my truck since it was too dark. Then I would get up first thing in the morning to go back to my car. Wasn't really dressed well enough to sleep. I just had on a coat, a rough long-sleeved shirt, and jeans. I didn't have a toothbrush, but I just wanted some rest. So with that, I pushed all of that to the side. I placed my bag down and reached for my phone in my pocket to text Caitlin and let her know that I wouldn't be home tonight. My hand got in my pocket and I didn't feel my phone in there. I patted my pocket for a second and my stomach dropped when I found that it wasn't in my pocket. It hit me like a speeding train that I forgot it in my truck. You fucking dumbass, I said to myself. I sighed and pulled my laptop out of my bag and sat down on the little couch in the living room to chill for a little bit before I got myself ready to sleep. I looked around the house. There was no upstairs. Like I said before, the couch was very small, but even smaller. The cabin was very small, but even smaller on the inside. The living room and the kitchen were both very small. The living room just as a couch and kitchen stove, fridge, and a couple drawers. There was a small bathroom too to the right of the couch. Yeah, a cabin only meant to stay in for one night. I doubted there was even power in this abandoned cabin, so I got up and walked towards the light switch and flipped it on. The living room light flickered to life. It worked. There was actually power in this house. I laughed in joy that everything in here still worked somehow. Then I checked my laptop, and the cellular data also worked perfectly fine. That's when I realized that I had a MacBook, and I could still text Caitlin. I opened the message app and shot Caitlin a text that I wouldn't come home tonight, since it's too dark for me to go back to my truck, and that I'm staying in an abandoned cabin. I even told her I'd be home in the morning. I did say this was a couple of days ago, right? Well, I'm still in this damn cabin, and I don't think I'll be able to go back to my truck anytime soon. It's driving me crazy. The next morning, I woke up from being in an uncomfortable position on the couch, yawned and stretched, got myself ready to start my journey and get myself to my truck. I was surprised to see when I opened the front door the ground was covered in snow, nearly up to my knees. It took me a moment, and I figured out that a major snowstorm was happening. Even with a long-sleeved shirt that was layered with a coat, it was freezing, and I quickly got myself back inside the cabin, breathing heavily from the cold wind blasting across my face like someone had smacked me in the face. I spent the majority of the day going through my food out of hunger, eating most of the food in there since I had nothing else to do, but also trying to reserve a lot of it just in case I had to stay here for a while. And also trying not to be on my laptop too much for that same reason, since I didn't have a damn charger. I tried again to go out and get back to my truck, but each and every single time the wind was unbearable and the snow was even worse. I knew I was going to be here for yet another night. Yesterday night, I spent the whole night sitting on the couch, trying to devise a plan on how I'm going to be able to get through the snowstorm, get back to my truck as I finally get home. I checked my laptop on time and see I hadn't gotten any texts from Caitlin today. She had to have noticed that I hadn't come home today. Weird. While trying to figure out a plan, I slowly drifted off to sleep, and during that sleep I had a nice dream of me and Caitlin on a picnic, and it felt so real. It felt so real that even in the dream, I heard footsteps in front of me from behind Caitlin. I remember saying in my dream to Caitlin what that sound was, but she told me that she didn't hear anything and that I was just hearing things. That's when in my dream I knew it was the sound of footsteps on snow. There was no snow in sight in my dream, just bright grass with the sun over us. When I woke up, I continued hearing the footsteps, being able to discern that it was coming from the tree line that was not too far from the cabin. I came to my senses as I rubbed my eyes, and suddenly I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand straight up, stiffly, as I had an odd feeling of being watched, and that is a very terrifying feeling. I slowly looked to the window provided in the living room that looks outside where I could see all of the tree line and most of the front yard of the cabin. I got up and cautiously made my way to the living room window, trying to make my movement on a minuscule scale. Kneeled down once I got to the window and looked out, squinting to see better, and I saw distinctly from behind the trees in front of the cabin, dark blue glowing eyes, and even in the night I could tell those eyes were looking right at me. I gasped loudly and backed up from the window as I heard the leaves from the trees rustling from whatever the fuck was moving around. I ducked behind the couch to avoid being seen by what that was, and started rationalizing in my head. Tried telling myself it was just my imagination, that rapidly being thrown at the window when I heard from the backyard the sounds of quick, fast-paced footsteps crunching and stomping through the snow. Whatever was out there had to have known that I was in here. For a few minutes, I heard it quickly circling around the cabin, intentionally making loud footsteps and dragging something sharp against the wooden walls as it went around the house. This thing was playing mind games with me, it seemed like. This went on for some time as I held my breath, closing my eyes, ready for something to happen at this moment. And as it came back around the side of the house I was on, I heard it stop. It stopped right outside, in front of me, though we couldn't see each other. I heard its slight, inhuman breathing as I felt its body turn and kneel down in front of the cabin outside. As I stared at the wall but felt like I was looking through it, even though I didn't know what this thing looked like yet. Then, it spoke to me. Spoke might not even be the right word. I think growled is the right word. Quite frankly, it also had a slight utter to its voice, as it said, "Good luck." And with that, I heard it quickly scramble away. Hearing it kick snow from beneath its feet, all I could do in that moment was sit there, afraid and paralyzed from what just happened. Wrapping my head around this thing couldn't be human. There's no way a person's eyes can glow blue like that and have a voice like that thing just had. Eventually, I fell asleep as it felt like the walls of the cabin were closing in on me. Getting tired of being in such a small property for 2 days straight now, with no charger for my laptop, running out of food and water, and that it felt like it was getting colder every second. It was hell. I had a horrible dream that night. I dreamt that I finally got home from being in this hellhole, went to greet Caitlin before I saw her dead. Her insides were ripped open, her mouth drooling out blood. I could feel myself not only crying in the dream, but crying even as I slept. I knelt down beside her and picked her up as the dream felt so real, as I started feeling like my insides were being ripped open. My head started leaking blood, dripping and falling to the carpet of my house, stained as I continued to carry the body of my girlfriend. And I woke up as something made a loud crash through the sounded like glass. I jumped awake and swiftly turned my head to see what the sound was. Sure enough, it was one of the windows in the kitchen, shattered, glass everywhere. The cold wind making its way into the cabin, making it unbearably cold. I saw that the snowstorm was still going on, way worse now than the previous days. I got up and walked a couple of steps to the kitchen because the cabin is so fucking small, and I saw that a solid rock was thrown through the window, shattering it completely. While I was busy grieving over that, I noticed that on the kitchen counter something was scratched on it. It looked like words. I took a step closer, trying to avoid stepping on glass, as I leaned closer to the counter. I saw that something was written on the counter with a sharp object, but I didn't see any signs of any item that could have been used. I realized that the thing was watching me last night had to have done it. It's made its way into the cabin. It was just in here. I shivered from not only the cold, but also fear, as I read the words scratched on the kitchen counter. "You won't be able to escape. If you die, Caitlin dies too." And that's the end of part 1. I apologize for my Cortana getting in the way. I realized that it popped up, and I have no control over that. It pops up randomly. I do apologize. This new computer is a bit finicky. Yeah, this was actually a really good story. I'm very excited to read part 2. I might do that tonight as well. Yeah. If you guys enjoyed, please do leave a like, subscribe, whatever. Please, I do ask that someone, that you leave like a comment or something to give me any feedback that you have. It really helps me out in fixing anything that is wrong. I know I'm not the loudest when I do these, but I'm also very close to the microphone, so I don't really need to, because the microphone picks up my voice very well. Yeah. The amount of times I have almost sneezed while doing this. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Maybe I think I'm gonna set a goal that if I can get 50 subscribers, then I'll do one of those about me videos or whatever. Because it seems like it would be fun to do. Like one of those, like, draw me things that used to be super popular. I miss doing those. Those were fun. Yeah. I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. If you liked it, please do leave a like, subscribe. I hope you leave a comment because it really helps out. If you really want to go the extra mile, if you subscribe, please push the little bell icon. Put on my notifications. You get notified every time I post. Follow my social media. They'll be down in the description, like always. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.